So you have the podcast with Chase. You previously had Half Forgotten History. You did more than football. Now you have another podcast in the works, Making Waves, which will look at an alternate history for different sporting events. How have you enjoyed the freedom of the podcast space since leaving ESPN?
Well, I think that's the key word, right? That's the thing, freedom. Like,
Yeah.
we do what we want, when we want, with who we want, and that's the most fun. I mean, that's the most fun for me. And the way things are right now, thank God, technology has sort of created this ability. You're on the East Coast, I'm out here in Maui, and we're doing this with a computer, a modem, a camera, and a good Wi-Fi and a ring light.
Right.
And it works. I mean, that's the beauty of it. And that's the fun part for me, is that it doesn't matter where I am. It just matters, can I connect with somebody and get the stuff out there? And that's been a lot of fun.
Do you miss being at ESPN?
No. And I don't mean that as a knock at all in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. I mean, I was there for 24 years and I loved almost every second of it. But that was something that I enjoyed doing, and I loved it at the time, but it's not part of what I do anymore. So I wouldn't say I miss it. I have a lot of great friends still there, and I have a lot of people that I keep up with, and we text all the time, but I very much enjoy what I'm doing now.
Yeah, is it weird, almost like you were there for nearly a quarter century, which is a great run, but then when you leave, it's almost looked at as like how could you leave ESPN? Like what's going to happen to your future? Like, or how are you going to continue your career, as opposed to looking at it like you spent 24 years here. And that's almost something that should be celebrated, as opposed to just kind of focusing on the fact that, like, how could your career possibly continue without ESPN?
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of, like you said, what we do, the way the media is now. You don't have to be somewhere to sort of you control your own platform.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can be at ESPN or NBC or Fox or CBS or whatever, but there's a million other ways to connect with people. And that's sort of where we are now. So, yeah, I thought at one point that I would never leave ESPN, that I'd be there forever. It was, things were wonderful, and I loved doing most of what I did. But for me now, this is just where I am in my life. This is much more the way I want to go about things.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the case for anybody that has a job that they like. When they're in that job, you think that you're never going to leave, but then you know, at some point things happen and changes are necessary at times.